welcome inside to the opening drive. Nick Kosko, Mike Antosiewicz here with you every Monday morning, 8 to 9 a.m. Got a packed show today after a great sports weekend. We're talking Rutgers football, the NCAA football landscape, World Series coming up, Dodgers-Astros starting tomorrow night. And, of course, we'll get into the NFL, plus my Eagles taking on the Washington Redskins at home tonight on Monday Night Football. For a chance to take a stranglehold on the NFC East and the NFC and possibly the NFL, Mike. And I'll tell you what, I'm excited for that game tonight. But we'll start, as we always do, with Rutgers football. And I'll tell you what, it was a good one on Saturday. Not pretty, but it's a win. That's right, 2 in a row now for Chris Ash and company. The first time ever they've won 2 games in a row, period, under Chris Ash. And it's also their first time ever they ever won 2 straight Big Ten games since they've even joined the conference. Not even good old Kyle Flood couldn't even do that, Mike. But Chris Ash did it on the road at Illinois. A good victory and an ugly victory, but nonetheless a victory for the Scarlet Knights over Purdue, 14-12. Defense was the story, and 2 big plays on offense were the difference in this one as Rutgers basically escapes with a victory. Now 2-2 in the conference, 3-4 overall. We're not talking bowl games, Mike, but this is progress despite the fact of the inefficiency of the offense. But I gotta say, I came away very impressed, at least with the defense in this game. Of course, there's still huge questions as to what the limit for this offense is. Are they at their limit? I mean, they look just so bad at times. It's almost embarrassing, and Chris Ash knows that this is a big problem moving forward, especially with a winnable game on the schedule still against Maryland on November 4th, which has now been moved back to High Points Lutheran Stadium. If you didn't hear about that, the Yankee Stadium Battle in the Bronx doubleheader with wrestling football has now been moved back to the home stadium for Rutgers. But Mike, if you have a game like Maryland still on the schedule, and possibly even a game against Indiana, where with Rutgers always plays them well, you have 2 winnable games left on the schedule. If this offense can't get anything going remotely for even more than a drive, there's no way they're going to win another game this year. I know we said it after last week, but that was against Illinois. It's just like this defense is carrying the team, but eventually, like last year, this defense might just implode because they're carrying the huge weight of the entire team right now.
Well, implode, yes, but also just get worn out. They don't have a lot of depth on the defense. As we saw against Nebraska, you had them on the field long enough, they just get worn down. So yes, they could implode because of the responsibility that they have, but the fact of the matter is if they're on the field as long as they are, as much as they are, and they have to perform at they have to execute so much every single time they're on the field, right? Have a 3-and-out or stop them in the other team enough in their own territory that Rutgers starts with some sort of field position. Your equation for winning the game is quickly going to go to the other person's favor, the other team's favor. But with that being said, it's amazing how quickly narrative changes in a season because, just over these 2 weeks, one could say definitively, because I'm going to say this, so of course it's true, but one could say definitively that Rutgers has turned a corner. Now, it doesn't mean that they're a much better team or that it all can't go downhill from here for the real pessimists, but the fact of the matter, as of now, they've turned a corner, right? They have the 2 Big Ten wins. They have two Big Ten wins in a row, 2 Big Ten wins in a single season, right? They haven't
had that since I think they only had 2 Big Ten wins in 2015, if I'm not mistaken, where they beat up on. I know they beat Indiana that year, and I'll look it up, but I'm pretty sure this is the first time since 2015, if not 2014, they've had more than 1 conference win in the season.
Yes.
Because they had 0 last year.
No, Rutgers must have beaten another team in addition to Michigan our freshman year. But
No, 2014 they had 3 wins. I'm saying
3 wins, yeah.
2015 was the year I was...
Indiana.
So I was curious, but I will look at it.
But nonetheless, they've turned a corner right now, and if
Actually, no. 2015, they only won one conference game.
Oh, really?
It was in Indiana at Indiana, the comeback win.
Well, oh yeah, and then they played Kansas.
So this is the first time they've had multiple conference wins since their inaugural year in 2014, where they had 3.
Yeah, but nonetheless, I've been repeating myself now. They've turned a corner. Again, they could turn back. It could all go downhill from here. I'm not denying any of that. But the fact of the matter is, they've turned a corner, and the next corner in front of them, right, is maybe 2 more wins or maybe a 4-win season, right? And the more you continue turning corners, the more you continue, making strides, making actual improvements, tangible improvements, measurable improvements, the closer you'll be to actually winning a bowl game. You're never going to compete at the top of this conference, so I guess the top for them is winning a bowl game. The closer you'll be to winning a bowl game.
Yeah, no, it's going to be one of those rare occasions where everything just falls their way if Rutgers ever is competitive in the next couple of years, which you would hope they would be at this point. Otherwise, this whole thing's a complete failure. But if they were ever to compete with the top dogs in the conference, and you never know, there's always that rare occasion where everything falls their way and they're in contention in the division. Obviously, the division is stacked, and we're always going to say we're always going to play the what if game, as if what if Rutgers was in the Big Ten West? How much more competitive would they be with those teams? Really, all in that. The only team in that division is really Wisconsin, and then you can make the argument for Northwestern being a challenging team. Iowa,
every 3 years?
That's what I mean. Northwestern is a decent team. Iowa is kind of in the middle right now. Nebraska's downhill right now. Obviously, you have teams like Purdue and Illinois who they just beat up on. Rutgers would be so much better off in the Big Ten West, but of course, geographically they're not over there, so they have to stick with this division. But it just makes the challenge that much harder, and also it will make the end result that much sweeter if they can keep turning these corners. And Chris Ash had a few words to say about that after the game on Saturday, of how he challenged the team and just how he wants to keep this team focused moving forward for the rest of the season.
Playing right now, so again, just really excited about our team, and we challenged them several weeks ago after the Ohio State game to bounce back and show tremendous grit and resolve and brotherhood, and they've done that. It's on to the next one, and we'll celebrate this one for 24 hours, and we'll come back tomorrow and clean up the things that we didn't do very well, and keep getting better, and move on to the next challenge. So.
The next challenge, obviously, is Michigan
by
this
the
weekend.
way, I just want to say something. I love, and all football coaches do this. Oh, we'll celebrate for 24 hours. No. It was 4 o'clock when you had that interview, and practice is at 8 a.m. Sunday morning. It's
So
not 24 hours.
That's not 24 hours.
Not 24 hours, Coach. I respect everything you have to say.
Let's how about 12 or 16 hours?
Yeah, 12 or 16. I respect everything you have to say, Coach, but that's not completely forthright. Come on.
But really, I mean, if you're Rutgers, you have to feel good about yourself right now. I mean, Mike.
Maybe not. Maybe good is too strong of a word.
Well, I shouldn't say they can't feel good in the sense that, oh my God, we're a really good team and we have a chance to make some noise and make a bowl game this year. No, but you have to feel good. Just Mike, think about compared to where this program was last year. And I get they've made improvements. They've made a lot of improvements off the field, and obviously the defense and the special teams have taken huge steps forward since 2016 in Ash's first year. The offense is still the big question mark moving forward. Obviously, Jerry Kill has not done much to warrant a lot of improvements. But when you look at this team, they have improved leaps and bounds over last year in most departments. So with these 2 victories compared to what they were doing last year, you have to feel much better as a program.
Oh, you have to feel much better as a program. I just think good is too strong of a word, but this is what I think they actually they can't feel, and I mean this, relaxed now, right? They got 2 Big Ten wins.
No, you cannot relax at all. You need to keep it going.
No, not in the sense that you could turn the pedal off the metal. My point is, if you're a member in that locker room now, right? I think it's a different feeling because this year you needed to come out and show improvement, and you hit that benchmark. You have a better season record. Not only do you have a Big Ten win, you have 2 Big Ten wins. You understand what I'm saying? And
they're also showing they're not at the bottom of the barrel teams, but usually Purdue and Purdue and Illinois are usually the 2 teams at the bottom, and Rutgers was associated with them. Now that they have beaten them, they have climbed out of the bottom of the ditch, so to speak.
Exactly.
And especially if they beat Maryland in a couple of weeks.
Yes.
Now they're really climbing. Now they're like in the middle of the hole right now.
So my point when they say they could relax, not that they don't put they don't stop revving the engines. No, that's not my point at all. My point is, they had one benchmark for the year, and that was to show improvement, right? And that meant all those things you just talked about, we just talked about. They hit that benchmark. The other benchmark, qualifying for a bowl game, is unrealistic at this point. We both agree about that. Maybe if we were talking about this victory after the Nebraska game,
I would say the first benchmark before even. Well, obviously, you show improvement is the first benchmark. The second benchmark, as I meant to say, is being competitive against the big dogs. Right now, they showed Ohio State, no. Nebraska, although in a down year, that's a tough environment, and they showed they were competitive. Arguably should have won the game. They're kind of grazing that benchmark right now.
So that's the second benchmark. So now, if you're playing that rock, you can say, listen, we had be more competitive, but one mission was to show improvement on that team, show improvement for this team. Now, I think what you just said, being more competitive, is part of the equation for showing improvement. So it's still under the general heading of demonstrating improvement. They've done that now. Now you have 2 winnable games. You're going to Indiana, and then you're home, not at Yankee Stadium. You're home in your own stadium against Maryland.
Maryland game first too, because if you look at the schedule, they have Michigan. They're on the road against Michigan,
and then
this
they're home
week,
against Maryland,
and then they're home against Maryland. Then they're at Indiana. Yeah, so there's a good chance that, after this weekend, which neither of us expect this team to win on the road in the Big House, because although Michigan has struggled this year and they don't look good on offense as well, but they're still Michigan, and this is still the Big House.
And that defense is still very good.
Of course, but after that, you have Maryland at home. If you win that game, and then if you go on the road against Indiana, there's another chance for a 2-game winning streak, and all of a sudden, after that, you are sitting at 5-5.
Yeah. So in terms of benchmark, this team has nothing to lose. So what I would like to see now is it's like I'm a player in this team. We could go out and we could play, and we could not be as conservative for our play calling. We could be a little bit more aggressive, right? Not get too crazy, but be a little bit more aggressive, right? And that's where I think the real change in feeling happens, where they had this huge weight on them. That weight is now lifted to a certain extent, and now I want to see how they respond to this new situation. Because I agree with you, it's a new situation. There's a new feeling. And I want to see how, with the weight being off,
you gotta see how they respond to it.
If they were able to respond to it, and it lifts them up to a certain extent. That's what I want to see, and I think that could certainly be the case. They could win both those games, but they could easily lose both those games. That offense is that inconsistent.
They could easily lose the rest of. They could easily lose the remaining games on the season. They could finish. I mean, they're 3-4 right now. They could easily finish 3-9.
Oh yeah, but you know what though? You have the 3 wins. You've shown improvement. Maybe you pass on first, second, and third down for a series, and you change it up, and you just don't run 3 times in a row. Make that change now, because you've hit the benchmark. You could change things up. You could be a little bit more aggressive with your play calling. You've got that done. You check that box. Now let's see what else you could do. You know what I mean? And I think there's a situation where they could respond and they could win 2 games, but you never know. But Nick, going back to the Michigan game, they can't lose to Michigan by more than 20 points. I really mean it.
No,
this Michigan team cannot put up points.
Well, you don't want to go back, and we'll end Rutgers football kind of with this, just looking ahead to Michigan and also just the ineptitude of this Rutgers offense. You look at this team right now. They haven't scored much. Illinois was a different story. I mean, Illinois was their highest point total besides the Morgan State game, and I still don't even count the Morgan State game. I almost want to take that game off the schedule completely, just because that was basically a JV squad you beat up on when you have your true freshman quarterback, Jonathan Lewis, scoring 5 touchdowns. Come on. Illinois was the outlier in terms of their point total this year, because they scored 35 points, but they scored all of them on the ground, and their running game took advantage of the worst Big Ten rush defense in Illinois. So right there, that's where they controlled the game, but it's still, the passing offense is still so inept. Even with Gio Ricchino back there, it's just managed at this point. And one thing I want to say, Mike, their outlier games this year have been against Morgan State, where they won 65-0. You take that off the board, because that's the JV squad, as I mentioned. And then you look at the Ohio State game at home. Ohio State's the class of the Big Ten right now, probably along with Penn State. They lost 56-0 at home. I would take that game out as well, because they're not even close to being in a class with Ohio State at this point. So you take those 2 games off the schedule. I mean, they're being competitive in these games. Like against Washington week 1, they were competitive, and I get they lost by 16, but they were in that ball game. Eastern Michigan, very disappointing, but that was another close game. Should have won that game. Nebraska on the road, not the same Nebraska team, but still at Memorial Stadium, very tough place to play, and they were competitive in that game. Illinois, they win. They didn't relinquish a lead the entire game. And then Purdue, same thing. They were leading the entire game. They're in these games now, and that's where the improvement comes from, Mike. If you take out the Morgan State game and the Ohio State game, they're the two outliers of the schedule at the moment. They're in every single game. That is exactly what you wanted going into the season after coming off a 2-10 year where you weren't competitive in almost any game you played. You wanted them to be in every game with a chance to win. And I believe in every game they were playing, besides those two, they had a chance to win. If not, they already did win. And going into this weekend, because you mentioned Michigan's offense is so bad, just like not as bad as Rutgers, but their offense is still bad. They need to go into Michigan and be competitive. They lose by 14, Mike, on Saturday. I know that you don't want to use moral victories in this sense, but you almost come out of that game feeling much better if they only lose by 2 scores and then said, okay, we were competitive with one of the class teams in this conference in their place. Let's come back home. Let's go beat up on Maryland, and let's have a chance to finish the season strong.
Yeah, and you know what, though? There's also a public perception aspect to this because people realize Michigan's not very good this year, and if you go to Michigan and you lose by 30 points, people are going to say, oh, wow, Purdue and Illinois must really stink because they lost to Rutgers. If Rutgers goes to Michigan and going into the fourth quarter, they're down by 14 points, they end up losing by 20 or 21, let's say something like that. And I really don't want that to happen, but let's say, so 20. Then people will say, okay, this Rutgers team.
They were there for a second.
They're there for a second. They're not.
What's mind-blowing, they both have the same conference record right now. They're both 2-2 in the conference.
Yeah, but okay.
Obviously, that's all due to perception, but it's still, who would have thought that at this point in the season, Rutgers and Michigan have the same conference record?
So, you know what's crazy, right? We're on ESPN.com right now, and next to the schedule, they have the tickets. Michigan Stadium has 100,000 tickets, right? 100,000 capacity.
I think it's like 101 or something like that.
Okay, there's only 1,000 tickets still available for.
Yeah, they're still going to sell out. How about that? I'm not sure where they're getting the Maryland tickets. See where they had. They're on the schedule before we had the break. Maryland, they have on the schedule. It's at home. I don't know if I don't know if ESPN realizes it's back at High Point Solution Stadium. There's only 69 tickets available, so I don't know if that means back from Yankee Stadium or
how many tickets?
Because Rutgers could fit 53,000 people in the stadium.
How many could fit into Yankee Stadium? Not 50.
No, much less.
So yeah,
that must be towards Yankee Stadium.
Maybe that's another reason why, Nick, that they had to call it so early. They couldn't wait to the end of the weekend because they felt that
sell more tickets for your actual home stadium.
If you called it on a Friday, then there's an extra weekend where people could actually go sit down and buy the ticket. So that actually might be another reason why they seem to call it early.
There's a bunch of reasons in there, but we're going to head to break. When we come back, we're going to briefly talk about the World Series. Dodgers-Astros start tomorrow night, Game 1 in L.A. Astros escaped with a 7-game series victory over the New York Yankees, and the Dodgers, of course, just blew by the Cubs in 5 games. We'll talk a little bit about that, and we'll also get into the NCAA football landscape when we come back. Make sure to keep it locked. You're listening to the opening drive here on 88.7 WRSU FM and online at WRSU.org. Welcome back inside to the opening drive. Nick Kosko, Mike Antosiewicz. The 20 past the hour, take you up to 9 o'clock. Talk a little World Series right now and get into the NCAA football playoff picture. And, of course, we'll wrap up the show with the NFL and, of course, look ahead to tonight's game between the Eagles and the Redskins. But for now, Mike, let's discuss the World Series real quick. Dodgers, Astros, just real quick, I'm going to pick the Dodgers in this one. I'm going to say they're going to win in 6 games. They'll go back to L.A. for Game 6 and win this one. I think the Astros are a great ball club, but they showed how limited that team is. I mean, they have really good pitching, but the Yankees were able to shut them down, and I get the Astros. It just seems like to me the Astros are a great home team. They have not lost a home game yet in this postseason. So when you look at them, they really struggled on the road. They couldn't win. I mean, you look at Game 3 in Yankee Stadium. They're up 4-0. Yankees come all the way back and win that game, and then the Astros were shut down the next 2 games in Yankee Stadium and had to come back Game 6 and 7. Win tight ones in order to get by New York. So to me, I think the Dodgers are the most complete team. They have Clayton Kershaw. He's pitching much better in the postseason this year. Yasiel Puig's hot. Justin Turner's hot. Cody Bellinger. They're just so stacked. Look at Chris Taylor. He came out of nowhere. Their leadoff man. I mean, the Dodgers are just so stacked as well. And you also got to throw in Rich Hill. You have Yu Darvish. They have a great pitching staff. I think this World Series can be very even, Mike. But I think the Dodgers might just be a step ahead And I just think that the Dodgers are able to dominate, and especially since they have the home field advantage now, and the Astros have shown they have struggled on the road in this postseason, I'm going to go with the Dodgers in 6. I say Clayton Kershaw. I'm assuming he's going to be the game 1 starter tomorrow night.
Why would he be?
Just depending upon the rest, but I'm going to assume he's the game 1 starter. And I don't be surprised, Mike, if the Dodgers are winning the series handily. I guess he would start game 5, especially if it's a 2-2 series. I would love to make my prediction so they win in 6 games and Kershaw pitches the clinching game, but regardless, I'm going to go with the Dodgers in 6. How about you? I think the Astros, both these teams are stacked, and I think they're going to be dangerous teams for years to come. But the Yankees could be too, but you never know what happens the next year. But I'm going to go with the Dodgers in 6 as our World Series. As both of our predictions were just way off this postseason once again. So who do you got? I got the Dodgers in 6.
I think the Astros are a good team. There's so much riding with the Dodgers right now. There's so much momentum, not only in their pitching but in their batting.
They've lost 1 game this postseason. They're 7-1.
Yeah, I think you would have to be foolish to bet against the Dodgers unless you make the case that the Houston Astros have had.
They're going to win every single game at home and they'll steal one on the road. Basically, that's the argument.
Exactly, and that they've come through to a certain point this season, right? They've been in these tough situations and they've had to fight through them. LA really hasn't had to fight through anything because they've been so good. So now maybe if Houston,
maybe that's a confidence booster for Houston.
Yeah. If Houston could sneak a game at LA and then LA is tied in a series, or they're in a position where they didn't think they would be.
I think
Houston could jump ahead, right?
I think Houston's best case scenario is that they split games 1 and 2. They're 1, and then it's 1-1 going back to Houston. Houston has not lost a home playoff game this season. They beat the Red Sox every time in Houston, and then they beat the Yankees every game in Houston as well. If they're 1-1 going back to Houston, I think the Astros are confident that they could almost say, "Hey, we never lost at home. We could potentially win 3 games in a row and win this series in 5." But I don't foresee it happening. I think the Dodgers are too good to lose to the Astros more than once in a row.
And let's also, I think the Dodgers could win at Houston. Houston's a very good home team.
I wouldn't be shocked if the Dodgers win 5 games. But
it's not like the Dodgers can't win at Houston. So overall, you said LA in 6. I'm going to say LA in 7 because this Houston team, I thought they were done. I thought they were, waiting.
They are resilient.
Yeah, they are resilient is the perfect word, from resilio in Latin, which means to jump again.
Thank you for the lesson this morning, Professor.
But they are a resilient team, and I could see them sneaking a game, forcing it to a Game 7. So I'm going to say L.A., but Game 7.
All right, so we both have L.A., and generally that means we're going to be wrong, so the Houston Astros are going to win this World Series.
Whenever we agree, Nick, it's usually a bad thing.
Well, who was your World Series? You had Indians-Cubs. You had a rematch of last year. That's what you had.
I believe I did.
I had Indians-Nationals, and look how well that.
Yeah, I knew the Nationals.
Yeah, so both the Indians and Nationals lost in the first round, and of course I didn't go. I thought the Dodgers were going to not choke, but just not get by the NLCS. But hey. Predictions are way off, and as they always are. All right, we'll transition right here. We'll stay with you here in this segment. We're going to go with NCAA college football, and pretty much, Mike, just according to the AP poll, coming into Week 9, top 8 have stayed the same. You got Bama 1, Penn State 2, Georgia 3, TCU 4. Those would be your playoff teams at the moment. And then rounding out the top 8, Wisconsin, Ohio State, Clemson, and Miami all won or were off this weekend. Mike, I think the biggest story from the weekend. I know Oklahoma won, but they dropped.
Oh, they're terrible.
Oklahoma won again, but they dropped to number 10 according to this AP poll. The biggest story of the weekend had to be Notre Dame over USC.
And that's the most disgusting thing in the world for me.
You hate Notre Dame.
Oh, I can't stand this team. I can't stand that school, and I can't stand USC because they never pull through. You want them to win a game for you, and they never, ever, ever pull through this USC
Well, according
team.
to the AP poll, they dropped from 11 to 21.
I don't understand. No, for anybody that wants to challenge me on Sam Darnold and tell me that he is the next big thing and the Jets need to get him, please call up because there's no evidence for that. And that's my point. This Notre Dame team is not good. They played one ranked team before this and they lost, right? USC, how did you lose in that fashion? That's all. Also, I don't understand. You lose a game, okay. I mean, it's college football. Inconsistency week to week. How do you lose in that fashion where they just look totally out of it to USC? I can't name one player on the USC offense. I mean, the Notre Dame
Sam
offense.
Darnold?
On the Notre Dame offense. Can you name one player on the Notre Dame offense?
No,
that's
actually.
my point.
I can't.
That's exactly my point.
Apparently their quarterback's pretty good. That's all.
Yeah. Okay.
Brandon Wimbush? What a name. Wimbush.
This team gets rewarded for mediocrity. Oh, he's so good. He has a 51% completion percentage.
Yeah, he's only completing half his passes, 903 yards, 8 touchdowns, 2 picks this year.
He's the next Johnny Unitas, please. This team gets rewarded for mediocrity.
I would say
they get cherished for mediocrity, and it's just frustrating.
Mike, look, but he can run the ball. He's a dual threat quarterback. He's run the ball.
Oh, great!
8 times for 508 yards, 10 touchdowns this year. And also their running back, Josh Adams, almost 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns.
Maybe if they actually played a competitive schedule, Nick, that would mean something.
Well, let's take a look at their schedule.
Let's take a look.
Right now, Mike, all right.
Oh, they beat Temple at home. Congratulations.
Lost to Georgia by a point. That's
I'll give it
good loss.
Was it that Jacob Fromm's first start?
I believe that's Jake Fromm's first start.
Okay, so first start at home, Georgia, you still lost. Congratulations. Boston College. Okay.
God. Michigan State,
wow.
Decent win over Michigan State. Miami.
Michigan State is so.
They're ranked. Like they're a good team. I'm not saying Notre Dame's lighting the world on fire here. So they beat Michigan State at Michigan State. That's a good win. They lost to Georgia, good loss, but it was in Notre Dame, so it's not going to look as good. They killed Miami of Ohio. At North Carolina they killed, and they destroyed USC. Destroying USC is a good win, especially since they killed them. Other than that, they have... No,
but it also shows that USC is awful. Let's go to USC's schedule, please.
Well, hang on. Let's round out Notre Dame. And I guarantee you, Mike, if they're 11-1, the committee's going to have a hard time keeping them out of the playoffs.
They're losing to Miami. They are totally losing to Miami.
Well, here's my thing, Mike.
Miami,
here's my thing, Mike, with Notre Dame. The college football...
And there's 3,800 tickets available, Nick.
Yeah. There's only 86 tickets available for Stanford in the final game. How about that one?
Oh, wow.
So here's my thing with Notre Dame, Mike.
And I can see Stanford winning that one because they're so up and down, Stanford.
Notre Dame can finish 11-1 very easily.
Not very easily, but...
Just hear me out here. They can finish 11-1 here. They have a schedule where it's not very good, but because they're 11-1 and they're independent, and because the fact that the brand is, they're Notre Dame, the College Football Playoff Committee is going to have a hard time keeping them out, and they're going to be right in the thick of the conversation if they're 11-1. If their only losses to Georgia, who's going to be a top 4 team, even after a loss to Alabama possibly, Notre Dame's going to have a hard time being kept out. And if you look at Notre Dame's rest of the schedule, they're home against NC State, who've had a pretty good season, but I would expect Notre Dame to win at home over NC State. They're going to beat Wake Forest at home. At Miami is the tough game. If they win that game, you have to consider them for the playoff. Navy's no slouch, even though they're unranked. That's at home.
Well, they were ranked at one point.
Of course, and then at Stanford. So there's 3 quality games to end the season for Notre Dame. If they finish 11-1, they might have a chance to get into the playoff. And you mentioned USC. Look at their schedule. They're not going to the playoff, and they might not even get to the Pac-12 championship right now. Where are they right now? USC. They're 4-1 in the South Division. They still have to play Arizona State, so then that's this weekend. USC could potentially not make the Pac-12 championship. Beat Western Michigan.
Yeah, that's my point.
Beat Stanford by. Or they beat up on Stanford. They barely scraped by. They scraped by against Texas. They barely got by Cal on the road. They lost to Washington State. Killed Oregon State. Just got by Utah, and they got killed by Notre Dame. USC's not that good.
Yeah,
they're not that good.
Oh, but their quarterback. He's amazing.
He has the potential to be a really good quarterback.
Yeah, please.
Mike, he played 10 games as a redshirt freshman last year. None of these quarterbacks that have come out of college are John Unitas, John Elway, Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck. None of these guys. I think Andrew Luck played 3 years in college too. These guys can't jump to the NFL right away. And I know I was high on Sam Darnold last year, probably because more of he killed Penn State. He just shredded Penn State in the Rose Bowl last year as a redshirt freshman. So I was really excited. But none of these guys, I'm not even that high on Josh Rosen. The guy is inconsistent. He's hurt a lot. This is his 3rd year in college. But you need at least 3 years in college if you're a quarterback. You need to develop your skills. Sam Darnold, if I'm Sam Darnold, I might stay a year. His draft. I mean, his draft stock is still through the roof right now, just because.
I don't think so.
Mike, in a year of quarterbacks where it's Darnold and Rosen, he's gonna be a top 10 pick anyway.
I agree. Given the quarterback class, he's going to be highly coveted. But I think in relation, I don't think he's going to be as coveted in proportion to what good quarterbacks are in past years.
Well, if Darnold's smart,
You
he
know
might
what
want
I
to wait a
mean?
year so the Browns don't draft him.
But I completely agree. But to this topic of Darnold staying another year in college, right? Pete Carroll, whom I despise with a passion, Pete Carroll said that Mark Sanchez should stay another year and that he should not go out. Right? There's a bad idea for him to enter the draft, and ends up that Pete Carroll was 155% right on that call. He was absolutely right on that call. Right?
Not immediately though. He did. I know the Jets had a great defense for those 2 years, his first 2 years of his career, but Mark Sanchez was a reason why the Jets were able to make the AFC Championship 2 years in a row.
He was a reason why, but again, I think the defense and especially that running game deserves.
Of course, but he was a good quarterback for his first 2 years of his career.
But again, a good quarterback.
Where is he now? Is he still in Dallas? Or he's on Chicago.
He's on Chicago.
He's one of the backups in Chicago.
He's one of the backups in Chicago.
What a career! At least he's making money. At least he's making money being a backup quarterback somewhere.
But again, that tells you all you need to know about Mark Sanchez, where he is at right now. But I think the jury is not out. I think the jury has come in and said Pete Carroll was right and that Sanchez probably should have stayed a year because yes, he was a part of those teams that went to 2 AFC championship games. But the fact of the matter is, once you weaken the defense a bit, once you get rid of Thomas Jones, he couldn't actually carry the team. And I don't think Darnold could do that now either.
All right.
I just don't trust Pac-12 quarterbacks.
I know you don't. I know you don't. Well,
they don't have a great track record.
Well, Carson Palmer. Well, if he does not get a nearly career-ending knee injury in the playoffs with the Bengals against the Steelers back in 2005 or 6, the guy probably gets to a Super Bowl at least, maybe with Cincinnati.
I don't know about
you don't realize how good he was with Cincinnati early on, and then the injury changed his whole career.
Nick, I agree, but when he was really good at that stage, that was also when Pittsburgh was at their best, and you can't tell me that.
And he would have beaten them until somebody gave him a dirty hit and destroyed his knee.
I think.
No, we're gonna agree to disagree on that. Well, let's stick with college football here.
So you think they would have had a better dynasty or era? The Cincinnati Bengals have
not necessarily. I think they would have had a chance to go to a Super Bowl, maybe even win one, because Carson Palmer was that good that early in his career until his knee got shredded. Then all of a sudden he goes downhill a little bit. Then he gets shipped off to Oakland, and then he was terrible over there. Then he had a resurgence in Arizona and nearly made the Super Bowl the other year. Then after that NFC Championship loss to Carolina a couple years ago, the guy has shown his age because he's getting beat up so much in his career.
Oh, and they don't have an offensive line.
Well, that too. And Bruce Arians, I think, is a little bit overrated as a head coach.
He's totally overrated.
All right, let's stay off Bruce Arians today. Sticking with college football right here, Mike. Week 9 is big for a couple teams. Miami's at North Carolina should be a win, but it's a conference game on the road. The big game of the weekend is Penn State, Ohio State. Obviously aside from Rutgers, Michigan.
And that's a 3:30 game.
3:30 game, but it's on Fox National TV. Penn State at Ohio State. This is the battle for the division. The loser of this game.
What's the night game? Who's the people that planned this?
Blame college. Blame the NCAA.
Oh, Georgia Tech and Clemson is going to be at 8 p.m. I'm so excited.
I think they were expecting Clemson to be number 1 or 2 and Georgia Tech to be ranked, but I guess they miscalculated that.
But Penn State and Ohio State, that wasn't going to be. These people.
Well, there's some big games.
But you know what, Nick?
There's Penn State, Ohio State, and I would say Georgia-Florida is a big game. That's a big rivalry game. I know Florida is only 3-3 this year, but they're still Florida. It's in Gainesville, Georgia. This is a game they need to have. But let's talk about the big game because it has Big Ten implications as well, and also more playoff implications, Mike. It's Penn State, Ohio State. The winner of this game likely is your Big Ten East winner, and we'll go to the Big Ten championship game. When you look at this game, Mike, and I get Michigan could always beat Ohio State, and Penn State could always win out after this game and get tiebreak. Still, a lot of things can happen, but essentially, the inside track goes through one of these teams after this weekend. The winner of this game, to me, is gonna be your Big Ten winner. Because I think Wisconsin's good, but I don't think Wisconsin's beating Penn State or Ohio State. And just based on this victory, I think whoever wins this game is going to win the Big Ten, and then that'll be your Big Ten playoff team. It's either going to be Penn State or Ohio State, and it comes down to this weekend in this game.
But you know how great this Saturday could be. If Rutgers has a close game, then we could watch Ohio State beat Penn State, Georgia beat Florida, But I have to say, the Georgia head coach, I love the Georgia head coach, Jim McElwain. I would take him in a nanosecond. And at the same time,
that's Florida. Jim McElwain's Florida.
Yes, exactly. I love the Florida head coach.
Oh, you said Georgia. I was confused.
I'm sorry. No, I love Kirby Smart because I'm a big Bama fan. But I also love the Florida head coach. I think he's very good, and I think that if he had a more complete roster.
Well, we just mentioned before, actually, NC State Notre Dame is going to be a big game.
And then we could also see
Notre Dame lose. Brian Kelly go down the tubes now.
So if we could have.
You do realize because of
a
the
close Rutgers game and then a Notre Dame loss and a Penn State loss.
You do realize
all in the same afternoon.
Mike, you do realize if Brian Kelly finishes 10-2, 11-1, he saves his job.
I might not need to get on the airplane to fly home. I would be so happy. I would just float. I would rise up back.
All right. Let's pick these big games. I think just because it's in Ohio State, I think they're going to win. I think this game, Penn State showed I think they're more of a legit team after destroying. And I get Michigan is not as good.
By the way, who called that?
You did.
Thank you.
You did.
Thank you.
I think Penn State's more of a legit team because they destroyed them. I'm still going to roll with Ohio State, mostly because I hate Penn State, but also I think Ohio State is the better team, and they are at home at the Horseshoe, and they're going to want payback for last year. I'm going to go with Ohio State. I'm going to pick Georgia on the road, and we're going to pick NC State, Notre Dame. I'm going to roll with Notre Dame. I think they're just a little bit better than NC State. I don't trust NC State to maintain this pace as a top 15 team. I'll go with Ohio State, Georgia, and Notre Dame.
I have to bite my lip and say this, but
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
What about the other two games? Do you have Georgia on the road? I have Georgia on the road.
I have Georgia, yeah.
Jake Fromm looks good. Jake Fromm's finding his rhythm now. He looks fantastic. Yeah. I can't wait till he's draft eligible.
Yeah, and then Nick Chubb, I think, is going to run over that Florida defense.
All the running backs are ridiculous. And then do you have Ohio State over Penn State?
I hate doing this because it reduces analysis to like something that anybody could do, but I have to pick the home team here. I think it's that simple. I think these teams are both very
great.
Very, very
So
good.
now the other three teams are all going to win because we just agreed on all three of those games. So now
Please change one of those picks.
All right, so I'll change it now. How about I'll pick NC. I feel like Notre Dame is going to screw up, so I'll change my pick right now. I think NC State's going to win.
Good.
Now.
Okay. So now we don't have to worry.
But now that I picked NC State, now Notre Dame is definitely going to win, and we're going to be upset about that.
Exactly.
So there's no winning with us. All right, we're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we're going to have some NFL talk. We'll also look ahead to tonight's game between the Eagles and the Redskins. The Eagles have a chance right now to grasp the NFL by the throat, and I get the Patriots won last night as well, so maybe they're back. We'll talk about that after the break. Make sure to keep it locked. Listening to the opening drive here on 88.7 WRSU FM and online at WRSU.org. Love the song. Don't you like the song, Mike?
Fantastic.
David Bowie. Gotta love it. It's got that funky beat. I love it. Welcome back inside, folks. Glad you're with us. 18 in front of the hour. Take you up to 9 o'clock. Nick Kosko alongside Mike Antosiewicz listening to the opening drive here. Get a little NFL talk now. Some interesting games over the weekend, Mike. I think the big one had to be the Patriots beating the Falcons in the Super Bowl rematch. That was a good one. The Patriots only gave up 7 points. Looks like the defense definitely woke up. I think Bill Belichick finally got a little too angry, and the defense finally responded. The Falcons did not good at all last night. I didn't watch much of the game, but they were very limited.
Let's give credit to my man Matt Patricia, please.
Of course, the defense,
the defensive coordinator.
The defense.
I understand Belichick is Mr. Belichick, and we have to
Mr. Belichick.
We have to refer to him in that way.
Hello there, Mr. Belichick.
But the Matt Patricia should be a head coach in this league, and I don't understand why he does not leave New England. There must be something in talk. He must be chained to a radiator in the.
All right. Let's talk about that for a few minutes, Mike. Mike, if you're Bill Belichick. Mike, if you're Bill Belichick
in this league,
and I know Belichick himself is a defensive genius, and he's the genius in general.
He's amazing.
Of course he is. But if you're Bill Belichick, if you're that good at as a defensive coach, but you have an equally as good defensive coach or someone who's very, very good, if you're Belichick, why in the world would you want to let Matt Patricia go? Wouldn't you give Matt Patricia all the incentive in the world to just say, hey, you could be my right-hand man for years to come, and when I retire, you take over this team? What if that's the end game?
Maybe that's Patricia's goal. But my point is that I think he could easily walk into a head coaching position and change a team. He has come,
but not Cleveland. Not Cleveland. I think Cleveland's a dumpster. Cleveland would ruin
he's
him.
not Jesus Christ.
He's not walking on water here.
Come on. The so
I don't even think the good Lord could fix that team right now. They are a mess. Oh my goodness. Did you see any of that game?
No,
the Titans look terrible right now, and even the Browns couldn't beat them at home. They lost 12-9.
Let me say one thing though. If you're a Colts fan,
if you're a Colts fan, geez.
Why do you wake up in the morning? Because now that Malik Hooker is out,
he got hurt too.
Oh, you didn't see this?
I didn't see it.
Torn ACL, MCL out for the year.
Oh, good.
You literally have no reason to wake up if you're.
You know what? I went on a tweet storm.
Pagano should be fired now. If they could do that right now, maybe the Colts actually have a reason.
Mike,
to wake up
I went on a tweet storm the other day, and I said, because I just saw stuff that they're like Andrew Luck is going to be held back a little bit more, and they just gave him a cortisone shot last week. Like I said this, I said if you're the Colts at this point, you need to trade him. There's no reason. You trade him.
You can't do it right now because his health is such a question mark.
Let's be real. Let's be real. If he's healthy, he would come back and his health is not a question. You need to shut him down.
His health
and
is
trade
a huge question mark. He's fragile. He's fragile right now, Nick.
Because he plays for the Indianapolis Colts who have no offensive line.
Dude, he is one hit away every single time. It's like walking on eggshells with him. If I am a team to trade for Andrew Luck, without
the King's ransom. I know
it's the King's ransom.
Of all King's ransoms.
But listen, you
need to trade him. If I'm Andrew Luck, if I'm actually Andrew Luck, I want to get out of there. Why in the world would you want to stay there?
But Nick, he's a golden chip. I completely understand, but he's fragile like an eggshell.
Yes, I know he is.
You drop him, it's going to go all over the place, right? If I'm a team,
put him in Jacksonville.
I do not
seriously
pay.
Put him.
It's a Division I. They never do.
I know the
I do not
do
pay
that.
King's ransom for a quarterback that I don't know could last more than a full NFL season.
Of course you can't. If you have a decent offensive line, the guy is fragile because the Colts offensive line in the first 3-4 years of his career was so decimated and so terrible.
Yeah, but dude,
the guy
has recurring injury problems. He has an injury issue. It's just a fact of the matter now at this point.
That's why you shut him down the entire year and you let him recover.
If he gets hit 30 times, that's really bad. But with a guy like that, even if he gets only hit 3 times, it could still spell disaster.
You see, the only reason why I think his injuries reoccur all so often because he's hit so often. That's why he keeps
But he has a recurring problem, and all you need is one hit for an injury to recur. That's it.
I understand that, but
hit.
I understand that, but in this league, you need to take chances on quarterbacks, especially a guy like him who has Hall of Fame potential.
Yeah, but if it's the next 4 first-round draft picks, then I don't know if I'm going to trade my next 4 first-round draft picks.
I potentially would if I'm Jacksonville. I would at least make the call. But I know the Colts will never trade him to a division rival.
If it's like 2 first-round draft picks, a couple of 2s and a 3 and something like that, that's a different story.
If I'm Jacksonville, I'd make the call. And knowing they're going to say no, but I would say, hey, we have a lot of stock. We're going to give up a lot to give you this guy. And the Colts could rebuild and just try to start over. The Colts need to fire Chuck Pagano. Ryan Griggs needs to go out the door.
Thank you for mentioning.
They need to clear out the end. Jim Irsay should just sell the team. I mean, he's a god awful owner. They're terrible. That whole franchise since Peyton Manning left has been god awful. And I get Andrew Luck took him to the playoffs a couple of years, and also took him to an AFC Championship game. But Andrew Luck has been carrying that team on his back since he was drafted by that team. They have nothing around it.
Remember you talked about earlier in the show that this Rutgers defense, they're going to implode because of all the weight on him.
That's Andrew Luck.
That's Andrew Luck. He's imploded. He's already imploded.
So he needs to get out of there.
His body has given out.
He needs a fresh start elsewhere. If anything, the Colts should trade him to the NFC. How about that? Trade him to the NFC so you don't have to get beat by him twice a year. Andrew Luck, if I'm him and his agent, you say you need to get rid of me. Cut me.
I understand.
Cut me. You can take my money. I just want to get out of here. Actually, that might be even the smart thing to do if you're the Colts. Just cut him.
But now,
just cut him.
But now, like, what do you do? Because if you're Grigson, all right. You're on your way out, right? Ostensibly because you're terrible.
For years.
Do you feel like you have the power to trade away Andrew Luck for these draft picks? Right? That doesn't really make sense. If you're out the door, shouldn't the next administration, so to speak, make that decision? But then, if you're the next administration, do you really want to start off your tenure with trading away
a potential Hall of Fame quarterback?
A potential Hall of Fame quarterback? How is that going to work? I have no clue.
I know
whatsoever.
it makes no sense, but
it makes sense. But
of course
then in the actual practical execution
practically, it's not going to happen.
No sense whatsoever.
Of course, I'm serious though. If I'm Andrew Luck, you demand a trade, or it's like,
Lanskin, where are you? I want to hear your opinion on
that. But it's like, if you're Andrew Luck, if you can't get traded, you're like, hey, how about this? Keep my money. Just cut me. Get me out of here. I don't want to be here anymore. I will not play for you anymore. Keep my money. Just cut me.
That's not going to happen.
Of course it won't, because he has a huge contract. If I'm Andrew Luck, in the back of my head,
Where's Mike Pavlichko?
All right, honestly, I would probably never do this if I'm Andrew Luck, because I have all this money in my contract. But essentially, in a perfect world, I could say, you know what? Just cut me. Keep all my money. I want to get out of here. Let me go somewhere else. I won't sign within the division. I'll go somewhere else in the conference. I'll even go to the NFC. Just cut me.
Come to the New York Jets.
Just cut me. Keep my money. I want to get out of here. You guys have ruined my career. I want a fresh start. I want to go back to where I was the first 2 years of my career, where I was reasonably healthy and had a chance to be be almost as good and herald as Peyton Manning with this franchise. So let me go somewhere else and revive my career, because you guys have ruined my body physically. So let me get out of here. Andrew Luck does not deserve to be with that franchise. He is too good for that franchise. They have ruined him.
That franchise does not deserve to have Andrew Luck. I think that's the...
They didn't deserve to go from Peyton Manning to Andrew Luck. They literally were so bad.
Nick, that's what I'm saying. They're the luckiest team in NFL history.
And Green Bay.
But Green Bay is different, though, because they
earned it.
There's foresight in the Green Bay decision. It's lucky.
Well, they drafted Rodgers with Favre still on the team, and he was a late first-round pick anyway. Green Bay has earned Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, Green Bay
the
earned
Indianapolis Colts have not earned Andrew Luck.
No, Indianapolis Colts did not earn Andrew Luck, and
it makes me sick. I love Andrew Luck. He's such a great quarterback.
And listen,
but
if I'm the Jets,
he's physically ruined.
I would want to make a trade to Luck for Luck, but then at the same time, this team's rebuilding. They have so much.
They can sign Kirk Cousins in the offseason.
They don't have enough young talent, though. But if you keep these draft
they can
picks,
sign Kirk Cousins in the offseason anyway.
And you could sign Kirk Cousins in the offseason anyway. It doesn't make sense unless you could get Andrew Luck for 2 first-round draft picks, and pretty much that's it. I do not trade for Andrew Luck if I'm the Jets, or if I'm a GM in this league.
Basically,
because you're staking your whole career or your whole tenure with that team on the health of a quarterback that has been not only
very much in question,
non-existent
by their own doing.
Yeah,
to put a bow on this,
he's kind of stuck to a certain extent.
Of course,
unless he could get a clean cut, which he's not.
No,
he's kind of stuck. And what makes it worse for the Colts is the people who are going to replace Grigson and Pagano, because I can't imagine Irsay still keeping both of them. The people that are going to replace Grigson and Pagano, they're stuck too, because do they really want to start off trading away?
Of course they don't. You don't want to trade your franchise quarterback. All right, put a bow on it. We know the Colts have basically physically ruined Andrew Luck, and we don't know how his career is going to pan out at this point now.
Oh my God!
What?
It's a Pavlichko.
Did you spot a wild one out there?
I Mr. Pavlichko, and he's coming in. He's walking into the station.
We're giving the play-by-play of him coming in.
And he opens the door, and he's walking in.
Is that on air light work yet, Mike? It does not work? It doesn't work. All right, I'm sure we'll get that fixed.
The on-air light does not work, but here he is, the man, the myth, the legend. He's picking out his chair.
It's a late appearance this morning.
And I don't see a headphone for you, Mike.
That's okay. Your music is playing.
That's all right.
Just so you know.
And he's on the air. And he feels comfortable in his seat. And he has sunglasses on. Look at him.
He does not have sunglasses on.
He has sunglasses with him on his
shirt.
They're on his shirt. He doesn't have. They're not on his head. They're on his shirt.
Beautiful burgundy.
He technically has
2 in a row, gentlemen.
Yes.
2 in a row. Yes.
2 in a row.
We were excited about that. We were about to get into a little Monday Night Football action, because I'm excited for tonight. The Eagles can take control of the NFL tonight with a win. How about that?
Look at that. Look at you,
Mike. What was your reaction to the what is your reaction to Rutgers' victory today? I mean, yesterday.
No,
Saturday. My God.
Jeez.
Yeah.
You all right?
They got to win.
That's it.
No,
they got to win.
Last I checked, there's a win column, there's a loss column, there's not a pretty win column.
Just a win column.
Just a win column.
That's what we said.
So
a win's a win.
Doesn't matter how you get them.
Mike, did you watch this game?
I did.
So can you explain to me something?
Sure.
Because I called about 15 different people, and they all hung up on me because I was shouting as this was happening. At the end of the third quarter, right, the first of the 5 possessions where Rutgers went 3 and out, right? Consecutive 5 possessions where Rutgers went 3 and out. And all they're doing is running the ball, right? And there's like a minute 30 seconds left when they get the ball to go in the third quarter. And they go 3 run plays in a row, and they snap the ball with 25 seconds left on the play clock. and then make their defense come out immediately, giving them only like a minute break. What were they thinking? This is what I mean about bad play calling,
I
Mike.
hear you.
If they played, if all 5 of those possessions, they just said to themselves, we want to take as much time off the clock as possible, Purdue never has a chance to score that touchdown. And this is what I'm saying. When I say they don't complement each other, the phases of the game don't complement each other. Special teams doesn't help out often, right? This is exactly what I'm talking about. You have a minute 30 seconds, or a minute 45 seconds left. Yeah, you go in 3 and out. That's not the big deal. But take as much time as possible. You give the defense so much rest, and then you're going into the fourth quarter.
That's
so
fair.
then you have a quarter break, and then the defense has, instead of only having a 3-minute break, has a 12-minute break to go out and try to make a stop.
Yeah.
Please defend that for me, because I was.
I get it.
That's
a fair criticism.
Why are you so calm today?
I'm not calm. That's a fair criticism.
What happened?
I'm calm because they won.
What happened?
Because they won.
I wouldn't be too calm just because we've seen how bad this offense is all season long. And, against teams like Maryland and Indiana coming up on the schedule, 2 potential wins, especially Maryland now, but they look terrible. If Rutgers can't find a competent offense for more than 2 drives, Mike, they're not even going to beat Maryland. And the game got moved back here.
What do you think about that, Mike? Moving it back to
that's interesting because I don't
like it.
see.
I honestly think Pat Hobbs was like, you know what? I don't like this idea at all. I'm going to make an excuse as to why we have to move it back to High Postage Stadium, because they could, now that the Aggies are out, they could have waited, as Mike mentioned this to me over the weekend. Hobbs could have been like, all right, let's wait till after the ALCS.
Waited till this week.
You could have
to
waited
make
till
the
now and
decision.
said, okay, now we'll move back.
They made it on Friday, but the decision was made for them Saturday
I
night.
guarantee you, Hobbs was like, you know what, we need more money, and I don't want to pay Yankee Stadium to host a doubleheader, so let's bring it back here. We'll get more fans.
I mean, it'll be interesting as to what kind of contract they had and how they get out of that. I mean, because the other thing is that, and Dom pointed this out to me, that if there were 5 World Series rainouts, if there were 5, here's Lance. Bring him in. Eric's not coming in, so you guys can stay on longer if you want.
Lance, come in.
If
and he's rocking the WRSU polo too. Look at us.
All right, I'm gonna slide over.
The champion
Sports director in the house as well.
I can only talk for 2 minutes because I gotta go. But
okay,
go ahead,
please.
I was listening to your NCAA football talk when you were talking college football.
Yes.
And I do have to say, all right, Mr. Antosiewicz.
You sprint here, you're out of breath. You sprint here, you're out of breath.
He's out of breath.
Not necessarily to Antosh. I don't know why I called you up. But Penn State, I'm telling you, is not number 2 in the country. They should not be number 2. They're not the second best team in the country. And they're going to get smacked by Ohio State this week.
So
Trust me.
I think
Trust
Ohio State's going to win.
Trust me on that. They're going to get
Please
smacked
give
by
us a
Ohio
score
State.
line.
It's at Ohio State,
What was Michigan? 42-13 or something like
It
that?
was like 49-13 or something like that.
I'm going to say it's going to be like 35 to like 17.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Lance
saying.
Glenn, sports director.
They're
his 2
playing in
cents.
Columbus, and I don't think Penn State's really that good. They have Saquon Barkley. Trace McSorley is okay. I'm telling you, they're not beating.
No, they're not
Ohio
that good.
State. Since Ohio State lost to Oklahoma, they've been playing like the best team in the
If
country.
they beat Ohio State, then it's like then
If they're beating Ohio State, that's fine. I'll give it to
that's
them.
fine.
Since they lost to Oklahoma, they played like the best team in the country.
I agree.
And I have to go.
I
But
agree.
thank you for letting me on the
Of
show.
course.
I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Big fan?
First
Big
time,
fan.
long time.
First time. make sure you call in next time. Thanks, Lance.
Something funny, Mike.
Thank you. So, Mr. Pavlichko, the table's once again yours. The floor is yours. Excuse me.
Okay.
The FM table is yours.
Dom was pointing out that if there had been 5 World Series rainouts, that the last game would be played November 3rd. So I don't understand the reason to move it. I know a lot of Rutgers fans are happy about it because they weren't happy about having to go to Yankee Stadium.
This is what I mean, Mike.
Play
I
that game.
really think Pat Hobbs in the back of his head's like, you know what? We have to pay to use the stadium. We're not going to get as many.
less
But he could have
ticket
done that
sales.
before. But he could have done that before.
I understand that, but he's not the one who planned it. This was Julie Herman and Kyle Flood say, "Oh, let's play Yankee Stadium again." This is bad. It's bad for football. One, it could have been good for wrestling. It was like, okay, you're wrestling outside of Yankee Stadium. Rutgers football at Yankee Stadium has always been bad. You never sell the place out. They've played 2 bowl games there. I mean, but let's be real here.
I'll throw another thing out at you.
To counter my point,
There's
is
not a lot
agree
of
with me.
fantastic games that weekend, and the best game of the weekend, I think, is Penn State, Michigan State.
Okay.
And then and that game could get picked up nationally somewhere. So if there was a BTN night game It could.
But I don't think they would do that because
have wrestling,
they want to keep wrestling and football close together. They don't want to do it like last year.
But
where
that was because it was at Yankee Stadium, and what are all the Rutgers fans going to do in the Bronx? There's
I
no
get
place
that.
to tailgate. So if you're
But
back,
they're- but
if
they're
you're
not gonna
back
make-
in,
they're
hold
not-
on, if you're back in Piscataway, I mean, they did it last year with Penn State
Yeah, they're
and,
not going to do that, though.
and Princeton.
This is Rutgers. This is Rutgers, Maryland, though. They're not going to make the football game a 7:30 kickoff and have the wrestling match 12 noon. They want the whole.
they-
I
There'd be
disagree.
revolts.
I think there's a
No,
chance it could be.
I don't think so. Just
I think
because,
there's a chance it could be a night game. I had
I-
heard rumblings about that.
I really don't see it just because I think they want to have a true doubleheader. They want to keep those wrestling fans there for football, but they want the football fans there for wrestling and then
But
not to
you could
wait
also
long.
put wrestling
And you gotta remember,
later
this-
in the day. You
I-
could
I-
put wrestling later in the day. You could put it at 2:00.
You never know what the weather though. That's what I mean. You want high noon for wrestling. You want the sun out and you want it to be relatively warm out there.
2:00. You're.
Yeah, 2 o'clock's fine, Nick.
I guess.
That's the weekend we turn the clocks, I think. So.
Oh, boy.
But I mean, I'm
Do
saying
we
you're
lose
fine
an hour
for
or gain
Saturday.
an hour? I always forget.
Spring ahead,
you
fall
gain,
behind.
You gain an hour because you go back.
Okay.
You go back an hour.
We go back an hour.
So I mean,
Yeah,
I think there was a lot at play here.
Of course there was.
And who knows?
I really
maybe-
think Hobbs just like, you know what, I don't want to pay. Let's get more.
The
Let's
other
get more
thing
fans
is,
in the
the other
seats.
thing is this. The other thing is this. One of the complaints that I've heard about the football at Yankee Stadium is that the field is not in great shape, and I think
But it's been
maybe-
played on for a lot of games.
Maybe there would have been concern with a deep postseason run that they would not have been able to do anything to the turf and the infield or whatever to get it ready. Do they have the? You got to take the mound down.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It could be.
Well, and you have to prep a corner to put the mats down too.
Right. So it could have been exactly that. It could have been just,
I
hey,
don't
we
think so.
might not have enough time. I don't know. But listen, Rutgers fans are happy about it.
Are they going to
Last
change?
point.
Just real quick, are they going to change the ticket sales now? Because before, the only way you could see the wrestling match if you bought a ticket also for the football game, right, at Yankee Stadium. Now,
I guess.
Now,
Yeah,
could
it
you
was
buy a
single
ticket?
admission. It was single admission, and also
Is it still going to be single
people,
admission?
I think people had to pay a little extra for parking. I think season ticket holders. It was included, but I think there was some additional stuff there, so I think they're going to have to refund some people some of that as well. And, obviously season ticket holders are going to get their season ticket spots at Rutgers, but then the rest of the people, what do you do with? So, and what about the Maryland fans who bought tickets to that game?
So is it going to be single admissions? still?
Probably refunds, and they'll get more Maryland fans now. It's a closer drive.
Yeah.
It's closer.
It'll be full.
That's all it is.
But
We'll
there you
get.
go.
We'll
No,
get
I don't know, Mike, because the Yankee Stadium is sold out, but I think there's like a 20,000 person difference between Yankee Stadium and High Point Solution Stadium.
No. High Point's 50.
55.
55?
Yankee
53.
Stadium is more than 35?
No,
More than 35, yeah.
I don't think so.
Oh,
It's
really?
probably in the 40s.
I wouldn't say
Oh,
40s.
really? Okay. Then, but still,
Hold on.
okay. Well,
That's all right. All right. Well, we'll get into more of that next week when we approach that game. Rutgers at Michigan this weekend. Go Eagles tonight. Thanks for listening. Mike Antosiewicz, special guest Mike Pavlichko, and our sports director Lance Glenn. I am Nick Kosko. You've been listening to The Opening Drive here on 88.7 WRSU FM and online at WRSU.org. Have a good day, everybody. Join us next week, Monday, 8 to 9 a.m.